Okay, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you liked the video. If you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe, okay? Let's talk about Oleksandr Usyk and his opponent for the weekend. So obviously today, it'll be yesterday, again this video goes up because it's going to go up tomorrow. Today we got word that Usyk's opponent, Tyrone Spong, has failed the drugs test, or tested positive for a banned substance I should say. And having heard that, we obviously knew that the fight would get called off and we'd need a replacement for Usyk, because obviously Usyk was still going to fight. It just wasn't going to be Tyrone Spong, or the Spong, whatever you want to call it. So now hearing that, obviously you're fighting Usyk, one of the pound for pound bests, on a week notice. You couldn't imagine it was going to necessarily be anybody good. Okay, we all knew that it wouldn't be anybody necessarily good. Well, it's not somebody good. I'm going to talk about it now. Before I do that, I'm actually going to get a quick drink because I'm still pretty stunned as to the opponent, because I never heard of this guy. I've heard of his uncle, alright, but I've never actually heard of him now, to be fair. So I'm just taking a drink now. Yeah, so I've never heard of this opponent, but I've heard of his uncle, alright. And his uncle is Tim Witherspoon. Remember Tim Witherspoon from the 80s? He was a heavyweight champion as well. So this opponent is called Chazz Witherspoon. Okay, I don't know if that's his real name. Looking at him on BoxRec here. On BoxRec, you probably can't see that. I don't know why I keep showing that. But on BoxRec, he is 38 years old, so he's an old heavyweight. He's 6'4", and he made his pro debut all the way back in 2004. So this guy's been campaigning for a while, but from the looks of his BoxRec, he's been pretty inactive. Okay. Now, he had his last fight in March of this year. That was a second round retirement. He won that fight. Okay, I should actually talk about his record. His record is 38-3 with 29 knockouts. Okay, he's been on a winning streak since 2012 when he was stopped in 3 rounds by Seth Mitchell. Do y'all remember him? He was a guy, he got knocked out by Jonathan Banks and he got knocked out by Chris Arreola. This guy was also knocked out by Tony Thompson in 9 rounds. And he was disqualified against Chris Arreola. In terms of the rest of his resume, there's nobody at all. There's Nick Guivas. I recognize that name. He's a journeyman. But in terms of everyone else, there's nobody on the card. There's nobody on his resume or on his BoxRec that I recognize, really talk about. And yeah, not exactly the opponent you would want for Oleksandr Usyk on his not his pro debut, but on his heavyweight debut. Because at the end of the day, what's he going to gain from this? He's going to beat an absolute knockover job who, by all accounts, hasn't had a competitive fight in 7 years. Whenever he stepped up to fringe world level, because the guys he's lost to are fringe world level. Seth Mitchell, maybe he wasn't even fringe world level. But the guys he's lost to have been fringe world level. And he's lost to 3 of them. You know, a DQ in there. Neither Thompson nor Mitchell are necessarily devastating punchers, you know, so he's obviously not got a granite chin. It's not exactly who I would want Oleksandr Usyk to be fighting, because, you know, as I said, you know, you can't expect much on a week's notice. I'll admit that, all right. On a week's notice, you can't expect much. But even I would have thought there was somebody better than that lined up. Somebody, like, you're talking like top 25, top 30. That guy's not a top 30 heavyweight. No way. No way is that guy a top 30. He's 38 years old. No way is he a top 30 heavyweight. No way. There's bound to be somebody in the top 30 who could be there, who could have been, you know, waiting in reserve to fight Oleksandr Usyk. But no, we get this guy whose claim to fame is his uncle was Tim Witherspoon, former heavyweight champion. That's really it. You know, as I said, stopped by Seth Mitchell, stopped by Tony Thompson, DQ lost to Chris Arreola. 38 years old, not exactly who you want to be Usyk to be fighting on his heavyweight debut. Because a lot of people were bigging up Usyk, moving up to heavyweight, because they were saying, okay, he's going to fight Carlos Takam. They were comparing him to Evander Holyfield when he moved up to heavyweight. And I think Holyfield fought James Tillis. That James Tillis was a journeyman. Let no one tell you what, James Tillis was an out-and-out journeyman. James Tillis wasn't fringe world level or anything, he was just a journeyman. So for Usyk to be going up and facing Takam in his first fight was seen as big. Obviously the Takam fight fell by the wayside, so we got Tyrone Spong. Decent contender, undefeated, you know, would give a good account of himself. To go from those two down to this Witherspoon guy, yeah. I don't really know what to say about this. It's not what I want to see. It's not who I want Usyk to be in there with. But at the end of the day, there's an old saying, beggars can't be choosers. And I suppose we want to see Usyk a heavyweight. I suppose we can't really choose who we fight. But I would have liked to have seen him fight somebody better than this guy. Seriously, I mean, 38-3 doesn't sound that bad. But when you see who he's been fighting, he has literally fought nobody. Literally fought nobody. And as I said, anybody who's fought who's fringe world level, he's been beat. And these guys, he lost to Thompson, I think that was in 2010 it said on BoxRec, and he lost to Seth Mitchell in, 2012. So these guys were probably barely fringe back then. So they're not even in the height of their career and he's losing to them. So yeah, it's not good. It's not who I would want Usyk to be fighting. But as I said, beggars can't be choosers. I'm just looking forward to seeing Usyk back in the ring. He's been out of the ring for nearly a year now. And it'd be interesting to see. I'm more interested to see what he weighs coming in at heavyweight now. Because before I want to see how he looked. We're not really going to gauge much on how he looked because he's not going to be in there much. But I'd be interested to see what he weighs. Will he weigh in the mid 220s or will he be in the 210s? Personally, I would want to see him in the 210s. I think that would be his best optimum weight, where he'd be fast and he's not cutting that weight, so we should be able to. He's already got great stamina, even a cruiserweight, but he should have even better stamina now if he's not cutting that weight. So it'll be interesting to see what Usyk weighs. But in terms of the opponent, as I said, it's not great. But at the end of the day, we'll have to see who Usyk fights next. He's still mandatory for the winner of AJ Ruiz. That fight right there would not put you in good stead. You'd probably want another fight after that, just so you know kind of what you're dealing with in the heavyweight division. So I'd say he'd probably take another fight after that against somebody better. So, as I said, it's just interesting to see what Usyk will weigh and how he'll look. So those are my thoughts on this. And I said, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like below. Let me know what you think. Are you happy about this? Do you think there's somebody else they could have got on short notice? I mean, like, top 30 heavyweight. I'm sure there's someone on short notice they could have got. Let me know what you think down below. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like. Subscribe if you're new. And as always, I will talk to you after.